year ago, I was on the train looking at the beautiful sceneries passing by. And I want to capture these fleeting moments. So I lowered my shutter speed and I got these 4 photographs. And looking at these photographs, it reminded me of my mom. She passed away a few months before my freshman year. I actually didn't know how I felt. What I told myself is to push all my feelings deep down into my heart and start my freshman year. So, if anyone of you in my digital photography class, you would know that my work in my freshman year and sophomore year are dark. I don't like to use colors. I feel colors are too loud. It will not allow me to hide all my feelings. So this is another work that I created with Maya. She graduated 2 years ago. At my junior year, I finally started to open up. I reached out to a few close faculty members. And in the end, I had the courage to create 4 photographs and a triptych and a montage to share my stories to the whole campus. And the message I was trying to portray is I wish my mom could stay with me forever. So my junior year, I focused a lot on my own story. And my senior year, I divert my attention to other stories. This is a photograph of my grandma looking at my room. So back at home, I'm actually very spoiled and like a little princess. So I wanted to wake up at a certain time, but I don't want to be waken up by alarm. So what my grandma did is she got up an hour before me and then she started making breakfast. So every morning I will be woken up by the smell of breakfast and the sound of washing vegetables. It was pretty great. And I want to capture this moment. It's not the most flamboyant picture I ever made, but it means a lot to me. It captured a moment between my grandma and me. So my connection with other people and myself made me come up with the essential question. How can art help me connect with other people? At the beginning of senior year, I was doing my college application. I spent a lot of time on my college essay. And after I got accepted, which is pretty great, I feel like my college essays lost its values. And I want to bring the values back to the college essays as well as other my peers' college essays. So I first started collecting college essays from the senior class. First, I'm going to play a clip of the essay from Emily's.
I want to live in a world where I can imagine, create, and express. So instead of looking back on my past, often does, I look forward to the opportunities I am given. I embrace my Vietnamese side, the custom and the habits, like passing something with 2 hands, the tradition of celebrating Lunar New Year, and the beauty of Phượng tree in the summertime. But I also embrace new cultures and being able to bridge communities. Thinking of my father's experience now, I realized that there are others like him who live in fear of losing everything. I want the future generation to remember those before them, and of their pain that is rooted in the fight for freedom. My father spent his whole life building up a home. Now I want to build up my own world.
So I created this piece. As some of you guys might remember, the title of my CES is Statement and Sentiment. So she is making a statement in her essay about she's going to create her own definition of freedom. At the same time, she's sharing all her feelings navigating in between the Vietnamese culture and the American culture. So I want her to break through something because she came to a realization that she's capable of embracing both cultures. So I placed her in between a seamless background. And the color red, it means loud, expressive, and even exaggerated a little bit. And I want her to show, to be fearless, and to tell the world that she is able to do it.
I am Universal Hunt, a black, about to be 18-year-old from Harlem. I like drawing, painting, theater, video games, movies, and every genre of music except for country. For some people as young as I am, this is all they have to say when someone asks them who they are, and until a few years ago, I was one of those people. I've come to a fairly satisfactory understanding of who I am right now. Of course, this knowledge of myself didn't come from just doing well in school or getting enough sleep or eating my fruits and vegetables. It came from asking a whole lot of questions about who I think I am and who or what the world thinks I am. One of the questions that was the most difficult to answer was, is being self-confident the same thing as being conceited or selfish? I have an answer, but the story of how I arrived at that answer should come first.
So I created this piece. So at first, I didn't really know how should I portray this story. So I just kind of asked Uni to sit next to his CES, one of his CES art named Fear. And we just talked. We kind of talked about, he told me how his feelings of being a black kid in predominantly white school. And I shared with him how being a Chinese in an American boarding school. And we talked about the book Citizen that we are reading for senior year. And we talked about the macroaggressions within the book. So we just talked. And I captured this shot of him telling me his stories. It was more like an action shot. Because I want to emphasize the emotion that he's trying to tell his stories out loud to you, to the viewers.
I tended to tell wallabies of all my problems because, after all, who else would actually listen to me? In addition, they could not tell me to shut up and focus on cleaning their poop instead. They would sit and watch me from a distance, perplexed as to why I had yet to give them food. One day, pausing between girl problems, or lack thereof, and my burning hatred for geometric proofs, I seriously questioned my sanity. I looked one of the wallabies in the eyes, and that which looked back at me did not understand a single word I had just said. That was nearly 4 years ago, and to this day, I might as well be talking to the walls. However, with time, I came to realize that the walls have ears. These metaphorical walls, of course, were actual living creatures, much like myself, and despite their silence, they taught me more than I could have ever guessed.
So when I was reading Sam's essay, I was like, great, I'm going to bring the wallabies into the photo lab and take a picture with it. But it didn't really work out. Then I started going back to his essay. Imagine I'm him. I'm talking to wallabies of all my stories that I'm stressed and all my practices. And I realized that I was really talking to myself. I was trying to sort everything out by myself. I was trying to let everything out so I can be relieved. So I placed a mirror on the left side of him as a reflection. And I placed a lot of glasses as something that, because glasses are see-through. So he is trying to see through his problems by reflecting himself. Last but not least, since I'm here, I'm just going to read my college, a part of my college essay to you guys. Forcing a conversation to win others' attention, laughing historically along with others without understanding the joke, and letting food go through my throat without fully chewing in order to save time to talk and be loud. These were my strategies I used to squeeze myself into the community. Before I made my journey to the US, my dad patted my back and left me with a weighty message. I needed to integrate to the new environment in order to learn fully. The verb integrate seemed to stress the significance of stripping away all the elements that made me who I was by installing foreign software and redecorating the hardware. I used to think the louder I was, the more American and extroverted I would appear to be, and consequently I would be part of the community. Talking too much was my way of covering up my loneliness and insecurities. So I created this picture. I have this deep fear going into the dining hall, sitting there. Either to sit alone or I'm afraid to be not the most talkative person on the table. So I want to recreate that fear for myself. My senior year, I want to look at my fear. So I placed myself in the center of the dining hall and I did the light. I placed 2 strobes on each side. It seems like I'm putting myself under the spotlight. And I'm eating this American instant ramen. It seems like I tried to Americanize myself, but it didn't really work. Or I shouldn't even try to Americanize myself. It wasn't a way for me to integrate into this community. I want to thank you, everyone who submitted their essays. It means a lot to me, and thank you for trusting me with your stories. And before we go into Q&A, I want to leave you with this. I started my CES thinking, I'm just curious about what other stories are going to be like. And then I realized I'm not the only one who have these conflicting feelings and stories. So I felt relief. I felt that I'm supported by the community, by all the stories. So I encourage you to share your stories because I'm listening. Thank you.
I have 2 questions. So, how did you choose the stories, and were you looking for any patterns in the essay?
Yeah, so when I read the stories, I chose the one that have imagery in my head, like the fastest, and then I chose the one that resonated with the most. But I haven't shown my other pieces. I created 6 pieces, which are on the wall adjacent to the gallery. And also I have like the ideas for Kevin's essay. I'm gonna put him in the room with all his snacks. Like I couldn't complete all of those due to lack of time.
What things did you have to learn to help you pull off this specific project?
I guess to deal with so I tend to self-doubt a lot. So when I was starting this process, I started telling myself, oh, this is not going to work. Like, no one can submit their essays and then what I'm going to do. And, learning to dealt with my self-doubt, it kind of, so I started talking to myself, it's going to be okay, and then tell Ms. Macker my worries, and then I just put it down and then keep going. So, obviously my self-doubt is still coming back again and again after I take different photographs of different people, but I will still start. Let it go.
What was the most difficult part of this project?
There's a lot of technical stuff. I'm not, at first, I'm not really good at strokes, and it's really hard to make them both flash at the same time. It's some like small things such as cutting the papers, making it straight, because I'm not really patient with just like a lot of small things accumulated.
So in these 6 pieces, which one is your favorite?
All the stories are my favorites. Like, I feel like photographs are just a representation of the stories. I feel like the stories are what means the most. Sorry, I didn't really answer your question, but that was my understanding. Yes,
I saw that like on the wall and like in the essays, like you did a lot of annotating of them. Just like along those lines, what type of things are you looking for and what type of things caught your eye when you were reading those essays?
Definitely statements and sentiments. Like when you guys are, or when the people writing their essay express a statement and say, this is what I'm going to do, I definitely going to highlight it. And when they express their feelings, I will also annotate them.
I could see a difficult part of this being putting yourself into the project, which is something you did. Was there ever a point where you thought to yourself that you weren't going to put your own story in there, or was it from the beginning you wanted to put yourself in there?
Well, I remember at first I had this grand idea of putting myself behind the donut wall, because I tried to get this chance I eat donuts as well, get Miss Macrae get me donuts. But it didn't really work out because I need to get a board and donuts and all that stuff. I want to emphasize my stress eating kind of problem my freshman year. And then I just, like I said before, I kind of leave it for a while and then come back to it and then read my essay to see what sparks me the most.
Do you think your exhibition that you showed was in downstairs and you showed your area slides? Do you think that in presenting that to the community here, did that help build trust that then allowed your classmates to share their stories with you themselves?
Yeah, definitely. I think, so I'm so grateful for the people who submitted their essays and allow me to put them on the wall. It's a really courageous thing to do because those essays are very personal and those are for like the strangers that you probably would never met. So definitely, and also in the end, I really want to encourage you guys. It's not only like you submit your essays to me, maybe just share your stories to your close friends, or when you start trying to make a friend, you can share, oh, this is what happened to me, and make connections.
When you return to China, if your father asks you to reintegrate, how will you respond?
I would tell him he's wrong. It's hard for people who live in one culture to understand both cultures, like the kind of the cross group can integrate in both cultures at the same time. So I would just let my dad know that I have a different definition of integration now. It's more about accepting yourself both ways instead of only trying to fit the definition of one thing. Cool. Thank you.